O'Reilly!
Count on the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts to recommend the best products for your vehicle and budget. Get maximum cooling system performance for 10 years or 300,000 miles with Peak Long Life Universal Pre-Mixed Antifreeze and Coolant. Now just $3.99 after mail-in rebate. Limits apply. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Peloton, let's go.
This holiday, with the right music and the right motivation from world-class instructors,
we're going to pick it up a notch. It's the holiday season.
you might just surprise yourself with what you're capable of. Work out to thousands of live and on-demand classes, from running to cycling to yoga. Try Peloton risk-free with a 30-day home trial. New members only, not available in remote locations. See additional terms at onepeloton.com/home-trial. Peloton, motivation that moves you.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Let's do a podcast. We have a great episode to dissect today. Now, the title of this episode is The Hero, but basically it's Peter Brady saves the girl from having a shelf fall on her in the toy store, and it goes to his head show. That's the episode. And we're going to be following Mr. Knight all through this one because he is in charge of this episode from top to bottom. If it's happening in the episode, it's about him. So anyway, let me just say hello. I'm Barry Williams.
And I'm Christopher Knight.
And we are
the real Brady Bros. Of course, I'm the hero.
Now, Chris,
Peter.
I have to, right. So many times when we've sat down to do these, you said, I don't remember seeing this, or I haven't seen this episode in a long time. I wasn't in a lot of it, so I don't remember that much. But this must have been quite the refresher because you really drove the whole plot.
Well, and for a number of reasons, it would be a seminal episode for me and my feeling of belonging.
Nice.
Confidence, a lot of different things. Because this was, let's go through the basics of what this episode is. This is The Hero. First aired February 20th, 1970. It was the 21st episode of season 1. It was the 21st episode in total. First season credited, Sherwood Schwartz is credited as created and produced by Sherwood Schwartz. Elroy Schwartz wrote, Oscar Rudolph directed. It's interesting, I noticed now about the first season, is there is no producer credit. There's no Howard Leeds. So that must have been, so Sherwood was both executive producer and producer. And for those out there, there is a distinction. There is a delineation of chores. The executive producer being the admiral, the producer being the captain, literally having sort of more of the functional dials and controls in his hand. And so with no producer, that was on Sherwood.
Couple of other things. Our writer, Elroy Schwartz, is connected and related to Sherwood. And I don't know exactly how. I don't know if that's brother, cousin.
I don't know. It dawned on me, too, that did we ever meet? Because there's Elroy Schwartz. There's another Schwartz that added with a partner a number of scripts. And I'm wondering, is Elroy Sherwood?
Oh. I don't think so. And this is directed by probably the man who directed more episodes of the Brady Bunch than anybody, Oscar Rudolph.
25 episodes. I did some research. He did 25 episodes.
And we have a lot of guest stars in this. A lot of, let me just say it this way. You have a large supporting cast. I'll run through who they are. Danny Nolan, Melanie Baker, Dave Morick, Randy Lane, Susan Joyce, and then I guess it's Eiler Rasmussen.
Eiler, yeah, it's I-L-E-R, right?
Eiler Rasmussen and Joe Connolly, who is a very familiar face who was now that very lecherous with Alice.
Yes, we'll get to that scene. Was he? I recognized him immediately, like from everything. Was he on Petticoat Junction as well? I don't know. I recall Joe Connolly's work and watching it as a kid. I just can't place it at this point. Pitt Herbert, also, who plays Mr. Driscoll, the owner of the toy store, very familiar face. Yeah, so there was unlike a lot of Brady episodes, many, support cast involved in this particular episode.
Keep you propped up.
This episode doesn't have a subplot. So, I guess because of that, there's a little room for more of these scenes with others. So
you have everyone's attention.
Now, this also is an episode. I'll have to find out, do more first season shows to conclude that at this time, which was 1969 and 70, that the Paramount lot only had Chrysler cars, because that's all who's credited at the end. Right. There's no Chevys. So The Hero was a seminal episode for me and it's the 21st episode being produced in this first season. And as you've all become aware or have noticed over the last 53 years, actually, as we are doing this podcast, yesterday was the 53rd anniversary of the first airing of the honeymoon episode of the Brady Bunch in 1969, September 26th. So everybody had an episode that would feature them. More than one, obviously. There's 9 in our cast. We did 24 episodes in this first season. So you kind of like 2 or 3, maybe 2 people would be featured in an episode. This is the only episode in the first season that features Peter. And there's a reason in part for that. Now, I had a difficult time delivering lines. And I know that those around me noticed. I didn't feel like I was in my element. And I could feel others' concern with that. I didn't know where it would land when they were building this episode. I was being told about it in some fashion, and that we'd spend a lot of time, Lloyd would spend a lot of time with me making sure that I had the lines down. Because we're doing, an episode in 3 days. And there wasn't a lot of confidence that having an episode revolving around Peter was going to be able to be concluded in the 3 days. So that's the ultimate story. It went actually very well, and ultimately would become, for me, proof that I did belong. This is airing February 20th, 1970. We went on the air 3.5 months earlier, September 26th, 4 months earlier in 69. So we're only 4 months into being celebrity. That's it. No one in the world knew who we were, began to learn who we were in September. That experience, if I bring you back there, Barry, was unique. That's a unique period of time when all of a sudden people are recognizing you, not something that we're accustomed to, or at least me. And there's a lot of unique parts of life that are going off at the same time. Now I look back on this episode and I watch it and I realize what this episode is about celebrity.
Sure.
And it parallels what we were going through at the time.
Sure. It's very relatable.
It's relatable in that fashion. But we have personal experience with this that we can add to this episode.
That's true. But, I think back to this period that my life, it was so contained. I mean, I lived in my neighborhood my whole life, and the people I knew, and then they knew I was doing a television series, and that was kind of that. And then I would have some people, like maybe at a grocery store, that would kind of look over and go, oh, but it just was not that big a deal, and we were busy. So it'd come out September, October, November. The people knew, but I didn't really have a sense of
what did you do. So the Brady Bunch,
the enormity
starts to be filmed here in the summer of 69.
Mm-hmm.
So immediately prior to the summer of 69, there's spring of 69. What did you do? You went to school?
Yeah.
You had friends?
Yeah.
You hung out on the weekend with whom?
Me? Well, I was a surfer. I was in the water. I was either riding a horse, being a cowboy, or I was in the water being a surfer. And I had friends at all those places.
Maybe it was something that you were anticipating already, even looking forward to. But my own friends all of a sudden were seeing me on television. The immediate thing that I felt was that people are reacting to me differently, but I'm no different.
Right,
so the only difference here is they're seeing me on television and equating that to mean I have a big head. I'm stuck up and I like attention. And it was like, that's the furthest from my mind that I wanted. So I spent all of my idle time trying not to garner attention at all. and just to be who I was.
Right.
And it was kind of frustrating on the front end because there was such a weight from this recognition that I had to overcome. And with my friends, that's easy because they knew me prior. They assumed I was the same after, and that was easy to prove. But people that I would meet who didn't know me prior, who only knew me as Peter Brady, that was a tougher nut to crack because I was a celebrity. I needed to be possibly brought down a peg, even though I wasn't thinking that I was expecting to be elevated at all. And this all comes out as I watch this episode because in some respects, this episode is about that. There's a line in this episode uttered by Mike about celebrity and about parents' handicap. They're handicapped about celebrity because if they've never experienced it, how do they give advice on it? That really is unique, and that was unique in our world as well. How does a parent then raise this child? How does a parent deal with a child that's getting all this attention when you have other children in the family who are not? How do you balance all that? Okay, so
all right, episode time.
We're opening.
Okay, so as we've talked about so many times, you are first up in the cast when the show opens. We're in a toy store, which I think I remember that they built right on our own set, our own soundstage. Do you have a recollection of where it was?
There was really little space on our set to build it, but it might have been in stage 7, like right next door. But it was somewhere on you're right. It was on a set on the Paramount lot, very close. I don't think it was on stage 5.
Okay. I thought maybe it was. Anyway, your toy that you're looking at is an airplane, and I wanted to ask you about that. If that was anything Chris Knight had in mind, or that's just what they handed you to hold up. Did you have a fascination with airplanes?
I watched it too, and it looked like I had a particular fascination with that plane. They probably said, here's some toys, pick one up, and I gravitated to the airplane because I was looking at it at its profile pretty intently.
And then we have a little girl over. She's probably maybe 8, and she's looking at some toys and shelving up on the wall, and she can't reach the toy that she wants to get.
And what is that toy?
Kitty Carryall.
It looks like Kitty Carryall,
yeah, it really
right?
does.
Out of her box.
Today you could say American Girl because they do look similar. So she's going for it, and there are a couple of them up there. But the lag screw that's holding the shelf against the wall is it comes out
because she does what you're not supposed to do in a store, and that's climb the furniture, climb the wall,
climb up the shelves. And even though she was a little girl, she was enough weight to pull it out. But Christopher, or Peter in this case, has eagle eyes, recognizes the impending danger.
He's Peter. Spidey sense. This is Peter Parker Brady here.
And he rushes over, grabs her from the shelves, pulls her away from where it's falling and, falling down next to her mom.
I think that in the moment I was even dressed like him. It was where they got the idea for $6 Million Man.
No doubt. I'm
even
sure that's
wearing
what
the jacket, and it's like a $6 million kid.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I do.
I've always felt that way about your power.
Right. That's save the girl.
Mm-hmm.
Save the girl. It was just instinct.
And take the credit too. But
Well,
but actually, you're
reluctantly. I mean, shucks kind of way.
It felt good. But you let's just say the enormity of the experience did not befall you immediately after the incident. You were like, oh yeah, well yeah, that was cool. But I mean, that's just it was just being me, to being Peter. There was a problem, so I took care of it. That's it.
Right, it happened. However, it does just happen like that. This is just the teaser, so it's going to be over with quickly. But the adults in the room are quite impressed.
Very impressed. Mr. Driscoll is like beside himself because you know what? That just saved him a big lawsuit. And of course, Mom is very happy because her child escaped unharmed, and she's very grateful.
And they probably hired the actress Melanie Baker, who played Tina. She was a very small girl.
Yes, she was.
Rendering it more believable that if that shelving unit fell on her, it would have just crushed her.
Well, it also would have looked odd if you ran over and grabbed a girl that was like, let's say, larger than you.
Maybe they're thinking of that too. Yes, you got to care. Well, I don't think they had an idea until they, did that scene how it was going to play out. Like grabbing her. I mean, it was written to push her out of the way, but of course, that's not ultimately what happened. They had me do the Steve Austin. You grab the person and you pull them out of the way and roll on the ground and look like the hero.
With the way you're describing yourself today, I can't help but feel that a little bit of this grandiosity is carried over into your adult life. Is that possible, Mr. Austin?
I'm just saying, it's television. It's, I'm thinking that of the things that
so far
later I would watch on television
$6
as
million
other characters.
Man,
I bring up Spidey only because the way that he looks up immediately, like aware of the wall of this shelving unit coming out of the wall, and it was barely audible. It's like he's anticipating. So sort of like
maybe you actually inspired the
Sense.
Spider-Man series of movies.
I am laughing at how heroic they ultimately made it look and appear. But the show is called The Hero.
Yes,
so
it is.
let's
yes,
go
it
for
is.
the
And
heroism.
who is the hero referring to in this case?
Peter.
That's right.
Peter,
you.
But, hey, I just did what I had to do. It happened really quickly. Not doing this to be a hero.
No.
Peter's just doing this because, hey,
because you're that kind of great.
He's got that kind of instinct, apparently.
I mean, it could have been the humble hero, but no.
Well, yeah, in this particular case, he's still humble. He's found out that though this mother is very grateful that her daughter is alive, and immediately goes to a point that I'll ask you. She makes the statement about how newspapers are always writing about the bad things that kids do instead of writing about these kind of things. And Peter saving the girl. And I'm thinking, I seem to recall papers writing about adults. Not much about 11 and 12-year-old
teenagers,
kids.
The Wild Bunch. There were all kinds of West Side Story.
As a 12-year-old getting
high
into
school. Oh, come on, high school kids, and being truant and smoking and stealing stuff and burglarizing and riding loud motorcycles and that kind of stuff. And that was just about me.
This is a lament heard not just back in the 60s and 70s, but even today. Why does television always have to cover the bad things? Why don't we cover some of the good things too? Just doesn't have as much gripping capacity as the bad stuff. Any case, that's bait, a setup that Mr. Driscoll has to take. So he's going to make sure that the newspapers hear about this story.
And indeed they do. And they're going to show up shortly after that. But you come home, you come past Bobby. I mean, we're out in the backyard.
Don't you have any friends your own age?
No, but because, when you get something going on in your world, all of the Bradys pay attention.
They all have to hang with each other.
Yeah. So, but you come in
with Bobby.
What do you say? I think you begin to describe, just what a wonderful thing that you've done.
Well, no. Well, before we get there, you look at me as I'm walking past you. He says, "What happened to you?" To which Peter wants to know, what do you mean?
All right.
Look at your clothes.
Yeah,
and Peter apparently hasn't noticed this, and we can't figure out after going back and watching that teaser, that first scene, how it would have been that he ripped the sleeve nearly off his jacket and ended up with this tremendous amount of dust and dirt all over him that didn't appear to come from anywhere in the first scene. But it looks like he got rolled on the way home.
Yeah.
Saving the girl.
I think you were just so selfless in your act of heroism that you didn't even have any regard for any tears in your clothes or any injuries that you may have suffered. You just overlooked them all. So you could.
I'm thinking that Greg was thinking. I'm thinking that your subtext was, this is Peter embellishing a story. He got himself dirty after saving the girl and then ripped his jacket so that it would look a bigger deal than it was. No, but you're not saying that. You weren't playing that subtext.
My subtext was mostly I don't believe anything you say anyway.
And this is the beginning of that point that I made about the Peter character, like Cindy being the tattletale. Peter was probably at this point being set up to be the kid that tells the story, because there seems to have been some history to bring Greg to that point. Why wouldn't he believe Peter? I think Greg says something about the stories that kids tell. And the immediately following scene will compound upon that with mom and dad. But so you don't believe, Bobby doesn't believe that Peter saved the girl. Peter seems to be a little bit frustrated at your lack of belief in him, which would be the case of a kid who tells stories that they constantly have to be bigger and more of a lie to be impressive. And that would be the route that type of kid, I guess, would be on. If I had any awareness at the time at 11 years old that that's what I was supposed to play.
So immediately when I am not believing you, then you're going to go find some people who will. Mom and Dad. Into the house we go, and you explain it to them, and they tell you how proud they are and how they're, what a wonderful thing you did. And right around that same time.
Well, wait, before we get to the door, he says that, he saved this girl. And Carol says, he asks his parents, so you believe me? Which, again, is setting up this idea that we've been down this route before where he's told stories, but this time, you believe me? He's like surprised. And then Carol says, of course we do. You wouldn't tell a story like that, would you? I mean, the way that Carol is asking this question is you didn't tell a lie. You're not telling a lie this time, are you?
And the newspaper reporters make no time coming over from the Daily Chronicle to meet you and start putting some propaganda into their newspapers.
They then make clear that Peter's telling the story is correct, or wasn't a story, that this happened, and that they're there to take his picture. And they use that word, hero.
Hero. Hence the name of the episode. Now, here's something I got a kick out of. You go up to your room. You're up there doing busy work. You're at a desk, and you have all three girls, Marcia, Jan, and Cindy, standing at the inside of the door to the bedroom, and they're talking to each other about you, 10 feet away, if that. And I guess you just wouldn't hear. And they're asking real the hard questions like, what do you say to a hero? And I just found that amusing. It was
And to my point earlier, this is in parallel what I would be feeling from that first episode airing for the first 2 years, mostly in that first year with my own friends, that though you knew them, that something changed in your world, that change into celebrity caused them to not be certain how to treat you anymore. So there's, it's a silly little scene, but there is, I'll report that there is an element or a thread in there of truth about maybe, your brothers and sisters might not have that problem. And maybe they would.
Well, they are definitely changed. I mean, Cindy comes up to you and then she can't even speak to you. And she just says, Jan has something to tell you. Jan? And then Jan comes up and she says, Marcia has something that she was.
That's after when they were planning on who's going to ask.
Right. Well, Marcia finally says what everyone is thinking, and that is that they're very proud of you and happy that you're their brother because you are a real, and they use the word again, hero, a real one.
Right.
Like the Spider-Man you inspired.
Right. I mean, but hero, just like, yeah, I'm a hero. Like, not yet bravado hero.
Yeah.
But that's coming. So what's next?
You're headed down the stairs, and Bobby and I are headed up, and I apologize.
Yes, you do. You apologize for both you and Bobby. But you notice something about this scene? This was a unique moment. I don't remember any other scene done middle staircase.
No, I don't either. That struck me.
I mean, for Oscar Rudolph to direct this, because that's not an easy place to shoot in the middle of the staircase. For him, that's his choice.
Yeah, because you had to get the camera up, to get down.
And then you turn around because there's no ceilings on our sets. They have to build something over it so that you don't shoot. If you're shooting up, you're shooting into a ceiling that doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I thought, in watching it, I thought that was a unique choice, not one that I would have anticipated Oscar making. But he brought it down to the landing where every other scene on the staircase is played out. But this one's right on the staircase. Anyway, now into the action. It seems Peter is going to anticipate what you want to talk to him about being a hero because everybody's making a fuss about it.
Right. And then you explain it. You explained, what happened and what you did. And
well, you guys are asking if you feel any different. You're a hero. What does it feel like to be a hero?
What is that like?
Peter, at this point, hasn't yet come up with a.
In fact, I'd like to know right now. How does it feel to be a hero?
Awesome.
Yeah, awesome. I'll bet. I'll bet.
You just want to go out and save everybody.
Yeah.
Till you die.
Kind of dedicate your life to it.
It's kind of when I watch any of the Marvel universe,
that's pretty much that's the way you feel about yourself.
I know how they feel.
Yeah. You do. You can relate.
I'm one of them in the audience.
You're not just watching something outside yourself.
No.
It's actually peering
I'm one
into your inner psyche.
And I'm there in person in case anything happens in the theater.
Well, when I go to the movies with you, I'm going to feel awfully safe.
You should.
Yeah,
You should.
okay.
I'm right
Protected. Alice is not above recognizing your heroic skills, so she makes
No,
you.
but now this is where it does deviate from my experience in the real world. There might have been a feeling that you are a celebrity, but at home, it was pretty clear you're no different. There's not going to be any extra time or attention.
Yeah, but Alice does what she does.
I mean, here in this particular case, now we're going to give you everything you want.
Well, and who better than Alice to give you a little something, a special treat, which was pretty funny. I mean, because she asked.
Apparently, Peter had four favorites.
Strawberry shortcake, banana split, fudge sundae, which she has compiled together, which looked pretty rich. What she calls a straw split fudge short.
I'm gonna have to try one of those. I don't even know where to begin. I guess you just pour it all together. That's what it looked like on the plate.
When you finish it, that was pretty good.
That's what heroes get.
Yeah.
They get it all.
Yeah. At the same time, right? Simultaneously. Right. Okay. So now it's starting to dawn on the family. Mom is very proud, but it seems a little quiet around the house due to the celebrity effect.
It's interesting in the scene because right after the scene eating that straw split fudge short, come back to Peter in the kitchen finishing his dessert, and Carol comes in. And she says something that, in this first season, it's the only time that we'll have any references to the Bradys not having been a family all along. And she says something about the newness of being a mom to boys, and it brings back the fact that this is first season. This is when there's
and
some
how brand new it is to be a mom to boys, one of which is a hero.
But Peter recognizes that the best thing about being a hero are the nice things that people say about him, which leads me to believe that there must have been some really non-nice things said about him before he was
Okay,
here.
I want to toss a question in here because you're dancing all around it anyway. But as much as I'd like to continue talking about you, I'd like to talk about how this dynamic actually functions inside our real families at home. Your brothers, your sister, as it did with Susan Olsen's family, as it did, and I came to understand this late, how that affected my older brothers and how they perceived me and how they made them feel about themselves or if they were comparing themselves. The sibling kind of rivalry that can be generated with not by so much being a hero, but certainly celebrity, certainly when all that attention is coming to you, an unnatural amount of attention is really spotlit on you because you're on a television series, because you're an actor, because you're being recognized, because you're doing interviews and your networks are flying you around and that kind of thing. Did you recognize that operating in your family? And do you, if you look back at it, because I can guarantee you it was.
There was really no sibling rivalry between my brother and I. There was just life rivalry that occurred earlier in life and was consistent of us growing up, but we're only 14 months apart. But this didn't seem to impact that much. I do know that there were some humiliating for me moments where, if, together with family, somebody recognizes me and then would turn to my brother or my sister and ask them if they're anybody. That to me was absolutely it was a gut punch and humiliating. I don't know how he felt, but it couldn't have been good.
No.
And I know that the other time that, I think it was 2 seasons or maybe more than that, a row, we had lean Christmases. We were a family struggling to put food on the table. And at Christmas in this year, 69 to 70 and 70 to 71, there was a lot of people until the mothers got together and started putting the brakes on all the gifts. There was just an enormous number of gifts being exchanged. You had cast members that were all friends. You had other members of the crew that were friends. And I mean, I remember taking home 35 gifts or something that were going to be under the tree. Your brothers and sisters didn't have it.
Right.
And I looked at that and I thought, oh, this is really uncomfortable. As much as it was exciting,
it is abnormal. And this is the problem, and this is the dynamic. In my opinion, it is such that not only does it begin to operate among the siblings, and again, you've got a job. You're doing your job, and you're not all that. In your case, you're not all that comfortable in it, but you're certainly not thinking you're like the greatest gift to humanity because of it. And other people have different ideas from what that looks like. And the big problem is, and then it's not talked about. There's no way to resolve it. There's no place to really make peace with it or to address it and then have it be okay. It's like one sibling in a family becomes charged with all of this attention. The whole family should be in therapy.
No doubt. They're going through that which can't be taught. And there's that mention in this episode where Mike will say to Carol that something about the celebrity aspect is something that will just have to go through one step at a time, because it's they're at a disadvantage. They don't, they don't know how does one manage a child who's getting this kind of attention. And that's the truth. I mean, I had a mantra going through at home, a dialogue with myself and a lament that was constant. I just want to be normal.
With Black Friday savings at the Home Depot, you'll find top brand kitchen appliances with innovative features that can do more, so your holidays can be more. Ovens with built-in air fryers for baking the perfect cookies. Dishwashers with smart tech to clean everything from bakeware to festive mugs. And high-capacity refrigerators to keep leftovers fresh. Shop Black Friday savings and get up to 30% off, plus instantly save up to $750 on select GE kitchen packages at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Offer valid November 2nd through November 30th. U.S. only. See store or online for details.
Peloton, let's go.
This holiday, with the right music and the right motivation from world-class instructors,
We're going to pick it up a notch. It's the holiday season.
you might just surprise yourself with what you're capable of. Work out to thousands of live and on-demand classes, from running to cycling to yoga. Try Peloton risk-free with a 30-day home trial. New members only, not available in remote locations. See additional terms at onepeloton.com/home-trial. Peloton, motivation that moves you.
It sounds like Big Brother might have had a few issues with how he wanted to handle the way that he felt about your celebrity too. But
No, it wasn't about. But he tried to kill me in the crib. He'll admit it now as a 2-year-old. I mean, we're talking infanticide that goes back. This is way before Brady. So we have a lot of other things that are more elemental going on in our relationship than the celebrity. But I didn't need the celebrity to cause any problems.
But we digress. Let us get back to the episode.
Please do.
Where are we? You've had your dessert. Oh, the newspaper arrives.
My just dessert.
Yes, your just dessert. Right. Yes, the straw split fudge short. Okay, the newspaper comes, and oh my gosh, this is not an article that's like on page 6 in the middle. It's not like some little third of a page. This is front page headline news.
Yeah, like a 6-inch picture.
Right. And it's all about boy hero headline. Now, here's what's funny about this. You are so enthralled with this newspaper that you decide it's going into your scrapbook. Now, there's the picture, there's the headline, then there's the story and all of that. But when you cut it out of the newspaper, you only cut the photo out.
I didn't notice this until I read your notes.
You cut everything around it away, and then you pasted your photo in the scrapbook. I love that. Yeah, it was great.
Right. But then he goes on and does something kind of foolish, and this should have been the giveaway to me. If I was an actor at the time, I would have noticed that this is how you build your character. You see what the writer writes, and then you draw inferences from it. But I wasn't at that point in my life where I could draw an inference. And this is where he goes in. He literally proves that he's soaking up this hero worship way too much.
Right.
He's getting a fat head because he goes and he poses.
Oh, well, we're off and running now.
In the mirror.
Now Peter gets just what a groovy kind of guy he really is.
He needs to.
And now you got to start practicing, how
heroicness
with the abandonment of all humility. We got to practice the hair toss. We got to practice flexing the muscles, and we got to practice the poses in front of a mirror.
I remember this moment and the direction being given me, and in my little head was going, "You got to be kidding! This is stupid. No one would do this." But I didn't say anything. It was being asked of me, and then they did those poses, right? They muscle man poses. That I go, really, like that? Okay,
I might have even
do that.
shown you one or two of those.
See, my inner Bob Reed was not able to express himself, so my inner hero wasn't yet fully developed.
But it's not enough. Now you got to reach out and start delivering your orders. Correct?
Yeah. Well, I mean, heroes have to watch. They can't.
Yeah, they can't be doing things like taking out the trash, right? That's your responsibility. So you pass it off to Bobby. You can't be seen. You can't be seen taking out the trash, for God's sakes. Somebody might take a picture.
I have a note here that we have to just put a pin in it for a second and bring to your attention. So there was a scene right before he's starting to boss his brothers and sisters around in the hallway upstairs, out from the boys' bedroom door, which is immediately across the hall from the door to the parents' room.
No.
At least in this show. In this show, that door was immediately across from the boys' room.
I'd have to look for that because that they put the wrong panel in because the bedroom is down the hall and to the left, not across. Just
right. If you look at it in this episode, just bringing it up. Okay.
You know what I thought that was? That was some dialogue. I think we thought that was maybe a laundry chute. Because the washer and dryer were downstairs behind the kitchen.
Right, but they came out of it. Unless they're climbing up the garbage.
Who came out of it?
I believe it's Carol and Mike come out of it. And they run into Peter in the hall. I think it's Peter in the hallway.
Oh, I definitely have to look at that. Okay.
Yeah,
if he
got it now. Mike pops out of the master bedroom to see what all the excitement is about. And they brought the paper upstairs, and that's where he learns. He comes out of the master bedroom, to see what the excitement's about. That's that door, and then Peter comes out of the room.
Mm-hmm. All right, so they ask if they felt that all this celebrity was going to your head, going to his head. No, not going. Went. And now I noticed that in your portrayal here, you were fully in with the exasperation. That, like now.
In fact, somebody else getting attention was about all you could take.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, it wasn't much acting. You knew this spot. This spot was
I am
in
experiencing elements of that now.
There you go. That's why I try to not do Peter episodes, because I know how sensitive you are to not having attention.
Oh, in fact, you go so far to avoid them.
Have to cover them.
So far to avoid them is that you recommend them when I ask you to pick an episode.
I recommended this because we've had a couple of Gregs, and I've been avoiding this one, but it seemed, in light of us wanting to go a different direction today, that this was definitely one the two of us.
Well, the reason we've done a couple of Gregs and we haven't done a Peter is because there aren't any other Peters in the first season.
This is our 8th episode in the first season. You're right. In the first season, not. But there are more coming up.
Okay, well, it's time for a meeting. We got to get to Mike's den for a lecture and a powwow. Greg and Marcia.
What the hell are you doing in there?
Huh?
What are you guys going to Mike's den?
You know why? Mike says it. First time I've ever heard him say it. But he refers to it as his off-limits sanctuary.
And what do you guys use as the reason for why you're there? Because Peter's head is too big everywhere else? What was it?
Well, we're complaining that I guess you were saying that you wanted a model airplane and you wanted to get everything that you wanted, and the Greg and Marcia they're just not impressed. So they have a meeting to discuss how we're going to handle this. Mike comes in, and we got to figure out how we're going to handle Peter the Perfect.
So you're saying that this scene between the three of you in Mike's den happens prior to Peter getting gifted all the toys? It doesn't happen after that, does it?
No, he doesn't have them all yet. That is going to come later because we haven't had the Alice scene with the delivery guy. Yes.
Oh, that's coming up.
Yeah, with Joe Connolly.
The scene prior to the scene in the den, is it not, where Peter's in the backyard retelling the story of his hero moment to all of his friends on the swing set?
No doubt. I know that I'm saying, trying to explain to Dad that to us, meaning all your Brady mates, you're just a average normal pain in the neck.
I think they missed a beat here because if I was right about what they're inferring, that in this story that Peter was telling, recounting the story to his friends on the swing, there could have been a big fish moment in there. Where clearly, because we saw the hero moment, Peter could have really embellished it and made it a lie, and that's where they backed off. They really didn't allow Peter to go too far off the
exaggeration diving board
to the fantasized world. So I looked at that as he's telling his friend, it was pretty true to the moment. So, but obviously talking about oneself is not becoming. So,
well, you're doing a fine job. And so the doorbell rings.
It's so irritating for you.
In comes, I love this guy, this delivery man. He comes in and starts hitting on Alice like there is no tomorrow. Now,
hard to do this scene today.
When somebody hits on somebody like that, and he's your delivery man, you got to wonder how many other times has maybe the maid or the housekeeper or somebody answered the door, and he's like, "Whoa, hey there, sweetie, cutie, hey, gorgeous, come help me. I got a load of toys and boxes here."
And at the same time, Alice is kind of like digging it.
Oh, she's definitely encouraging it.
So what happened? Why are there presents? Did you miss another scene?
Well, there was a scene. The little girl's mom has you go back to the toy store, and you're back in the toy store, and she tells you that she'd like to get you a gift. And aw shucks, and then okay. And then you get the idea that maybe you can get more than one gift. And so you start
because
pointing at everything in the toy store.
Well, apparently, Mrs. Spencer recognizes that when Peter says he doesn't need a gift or she doesn't need to get me anything, Mrs. Spencer anticipates that those were instructions Peter's mom has given him. And when Peter is confronted with that, he admits, yeah, that's what my mom said, don't get anything. So she overrides apparently Carol's wishes, and she says she's getting him anything he wants out of the store, which is apparently everything in the store. And that's what now the delivery man is bringing. And he's asking Alice's help to bring inside.
Right.
Anyway, so after those gifts arrive, and then they fill up the backyard with gifts, although they came through the front door, what do we have? Peter doesn't show much awkwardness to receiving all these gifts.
Oh no, he loved it. He loved it. But Mike comes in. This is our takeaway from Mr. Brady. Look, this is not something that you did so that you could be rewarded with material things. That you can keep one of the gifts. One of them, he says, because of it, but the others have to go back. So it's like you did a wonderful thing, but that's not why you did what you did.
Well, of course not. He didn't have time to react that way.
Well, that's not all, because not only did Mrs. Spencer want to single you out, the Daily Chronicle has another plan for you, runs another prize-winning, attention-getting article on you as the most outstanding deserving citizen hero of the month, along with a check for more money than we needed to buy the silver platter for Mom and Dad's anniversary for $50.
We figured that whatever it was, how much did we have to raise for silver platters? It was like $60, $57, something like that. And we figured that in today's dollars, that was almost almost $1,000. So this is almost $1,000.
$50 this is a monster check. And so, what is Peter's idea?
Well, look at, he's very generous. Mm-hmm. He wants his friends to enjoy his
celebrity,
his winnings, mm-hmm. and he's willing to pay for the party. But he's going to throw himself a damn party.
That's it. Throw a party. Perfect. Look what I got.
Got $50.
So you start calling around all your friends. This is why. This is one of the reasons we have so many guests on this episode, because you just start right down the line here. Hey, got a party going on, and how's that go for you?
Well, Peter has a problem in life that's reoccurring. Mm-hmm. And this is the first time this will happen to him, but it won't be the last. where he throws a party and no one shows. So all of his friends are hemming and hawing, although he's not recognizing it.
Well,
although
your first
they're telling
friend
him
says,
straight out they're not making it, and he says, "I'll see you at the party."
your first
yes.
friend asks you who's the party for,
and Peter says, "Me."
Yeah. So they're not so sure about coming to this.
Throwing myself a party.
This
something that adults do
Fest.
all the time.
Now, do you not think that maybe your character was kind of missing some cues here? That person after person is like the one kid says, "I don't know if I can make it." Well, check your schedule. And then he puts the phone, like he muffles it in his belly, and then nope, I can't make it.
And then Peter says, "Well, I'll see you here." He's not buying it. Peter's got, now his head is truly fat. He's not, clearly is looking at it from his point of view, who would miss a party thrown by a hero?
And then we come into a device. This is one of my least favorite ones. It's like the ones that you see on like a Game of Thrones. Anytime there's a castle or something going on, wouldn't you just assume that people would be listening to you? They would overhear what you say. You can't say anything in private. And I think the Brady house is like that too. And Mike and Carol are, talking about your praise and how hard that is to handle. And the dad is saying there are just some things that are almost impossible to teach kids, and some things they just have to learn for themselves. And now Carol's feeling badly because she has remorse for okaying that you're going to have this party in the first place. And
well, I mean, I think Carol is saying that she's not sure he should be throwing the party because, but Mike's argument is that hey, he if like people don't show up, he's going to have to learn that lesson.
Mm-hmm.
You have to let him go through this. You can't protect him from himself, essentially.
Well, and you overhear all of that.
Oh, then he comes in angry. Yeah. Because right.
And by the way, a very stylish double-breasted sport coat.
Well, yeah, I guess I'm already in that sport coat, and they're talking about. That's right. So this is when nobody is showing up at the party, right. And Carol laments the fact that she didn't stop it from happening, and Mike saying that he's got to make these mistakes on his own and feel from them, and then he'll grow from them.
But Alice certainly helped you set up that table. You had lots to eat there.
Well, but this is when Peter makes the turn. You can see that he's pissed off, and he goes up to his room to think, ruminate by staring out into space or out the window, because there was a window upstairs, but there's a lot of staring out now occurring with Peter's reflection on himself.
Mm-hmm.
And I can hear the air.
Mm-hmm. Yep, going out of that balloon,
out of that head. The fat head is losing its air.
Well, it'd be pretty devastating to throw a party for yourself and then nobody shows up.
But like I said, this is the first episode where this will occur, and it'll occur, I think, 3 more times. And every time he's in a suit.
Yeah. Well,
this is where my world deviated from the Schwartz's world. Apparently, in Truesdale, you wore a suit to your birthday parties or hero parties.
Oh, sure we did.
I didn't have a suit as a kid growing up. Certainly no tie.
Well, there are benefits to being a Brady. So this is the heartwarming part. You just don't know where this is going to go. But Carol comes up to the boys' bedroom to see you staring out into space. And she says that she has something special for you. And would like you to come downstairs. And you begrudgingly go downstairs. And who is there sitting around the table, the dining room table?
My heroes, my brothers and sisters who are always there.
Cheering.
Have been convinced that now it's safe to make Peter feel good.
Yeah, well, see, here's the thing. This is where the Brady Bunch loses a lot of credibility. I mean, a lot of people think, family, but there is no family that would do that.
I also wonder where Tina and her mom came from. They weren't originally invited, and now all of a sudden they're there too. So this must have been a lot of hours later. Yes, there is no family that would have been there as a unified group. They would have been there under duress.
To me, this is what comes with the phrase, that's very Brady-like. When it's like almost too good to be true, but it does happen. And it works. I mean, it's heartwarming to see, oh my gosh, that you're accepted again and, into the family. And we're going to, forgive your temporary departure into to major ego.
And but the reason that it does work in the show is because Peter does say a guy can sure get messed up patting himself on the back too much. But that is not something he says. He says it to mom and dad. He doesn't say that to his brothers and sisters. So, unless that was relayed to the brothers and sisters, you're right. It's completely unrealistic.
Sure
that mom and dad go to the Greg and Marcia.
Oh, this was so comforting.
It says he realizes the error of his ways. This is what he said. And they say, oh, and now he's feeling down in the dumps. So let help him get back.
Yeah. Well, this was so heartwarming that it ends the entire second act, and we have to go to commercial just to recover. Coming back,
we see Peter still staring out into space.
No?
Yeah,
I
well,
don't think so. So, coming back, you've learned your lessons. You send back all the toys.
And then he realizes, hey, this is a good thing this happened. This is precisely what Mike was hoping for, is that he would learn the lesson having to go through it.
And being a Brady, you did learn the lesson.
He basically says it's a good thing it had happened when it did, because otherwise he could have gone on for years being a real little stinker. Stinker.
Stinker.
Yeah. Okay, so there is a moral to this story.
Tell us.
Don't read or believe your own press. Don't have a Facebook page. No, nobody likes a big-headed bragger.
Be more interested in your friends than you are in yourself.
Humility is the high road.
Is a virtue.
And more effective in attracting good people, positive feelings, and true friendships. There is a parable that works here, and that is feet of clay. Feet of clay. And pretty much this would be my advice to anybody who finds celebrity, and that is get off respectfully and with dignity any pedestal anyone places you on. Get off the pedestal yourself. And if you place yourself on a pedestal, well, you've made the mistake yourself.
I want to do more Peter episodes.
Oh, well, we can find a few.
Okay.
We'll probably gravitate to a Greg and Peter episode. I'm sure there's one of those.
I know that we will. Well, we've done one of those when we went on the date together. I'm sure that we will find another adventuresome episode.
How about Cyrano to Brady? Because that one now, this is what Peter has to confront in his older brother. This is the reason probably why he feels
it was
he
so
needs
difficult.
To be a hero. Gets attention on occasion.
Well, we'll find out when we come back with a new episode to break down and pour through and sift and
and associate with our own personal lives and our own personal growth.
Yes,
how it was that we were formed through this 24 minutes that you watched for now 50.
It's a real shrink show. Anyway, everybody, thank you so much for joining us as we steer through the life and the experience of Brady's through our episodic recaps. We'll be back next week with another one, and we have plenty to go, plenty of insights to bring and to illuminate from this little show we call Brady. Until then, I'm Barry Williams.
And I'm Christopher Knight.
And we are
the real Brady Bros.
Brady on.
Peloton, let's go.
This holiday, with the right music and the right motivation from world-class instructors,
We're going to pick it up a notch. It's the holiday season.
you might just surprise yourself with what you're capable of. Work out to thousands of live and on-demand classes, from running to cycling to yoga. Try Peloton risk-free with a 30-day home trial. New members only, not available in remote locations. See additional terms at onepeloton.com/home-trial. Peloton, motivation that moves you.
Wendy's new French toast sticks are so delicious, some are saying that they're better than their mom's breakfast.
Excuse me. Did you just say Wendy's new French toast sticks are better than my breakfast?
Mom, is that you?
Answer the question.
I said some people are saying that because they're so crispy on the outside and fluffy on the inside and perfect in every way.
Uh-huh. And what do you think?
I think it's time to tell people to choose wisely. Choose Wendy's new sweet and crispy home-style French toast sticks.
That's still not an answer.
At participating U.S. Wendy's during breakfast hours.